Hello. One second. Hi everyone. How are you all doing? Let me know if you can, if anyone tunes in live, let me know if you can hear me and see me okay. And so, welcome to day 3 of our time together. And it's one, as I said before, it's one of my absolute favorite days, topics, themes, ways of working, you name it. It's just my something that I'm really passionate about, and I hope that it really supports you in looking at your difficulties with food and body a little bit or a bit more in a different way. Yeah, and so we're speaking about the chakras today. We're speaking about the energy centers of the body, and we're exploring a little bit more their relationship with food, weight, and body image issues. And if you go back to my posts from earlier, you will see a little introduction to the chakras. I believe that most of you in this group will be familiar with the chakras. But just in case you're not, you can go back and see a little introduction. And then we were speaking a little bit more about why in my second post, I was speaking a little bit more about why they're so important when it comes to food and body image issues. And that's because I'm going to speak a little bit about that. This is a topic that I can spend days, if not months, speaking about. And so I will kind of try to contain that and not give you too much information. Yeah, and I would love to hear at any point if you have any questions, what you would like me, if there's anything that you would like me to speak to specifically, both like whether you tune in live during this video or later on. I'll be very happy to read anything that you want to find out more about, and I can come back and share more. And so I was saying in my previous post that the chakra system is described as the architecture of the soul. And because the chakras are located in specific areas inside our body on a vertical axis from our tailbone to the crown of our head, the 7 major chakras, they are associated, they're linked, they govern energetically both these areas inside our body, but they also govern specific aspects of our personality, of our lives, of our character, of our traits, and of our human experience in general. And that makes them so powerful in this work because they're like bridges between the physical and the emotional, mental, spiritual. So the inner and the outer. And they bridge those two and they link those two very powerfully. And that's really important because we can see how the outside that we're so used to looking at as something lifeless, almost, especially when we have issues with our body image, then we see how much it is connected with what is going on inside. And I usually say our body speaks our soul. It manifests both our difficulties with food and body, but also our body itself. It manifests, it shows, it presents to the outside and in the world of matter and form what is going on inside on a soul psyche level. So the chakras, going back to the iceberg of day 1, they can be an amazing organizing principle and map which helps us put all of those different areas that were at that bottom part of the iceberg, put them in order and put them in specific places, and also link them with specific parts of our bodies and psyches and make more sense of what is going on, and then also be able to know what to focus on, what we need to focus on the most and what we need to focus on first. And so it's invaluable. I don't know if you can hear the outside noise. There is football going on. So if you hear a lot of noise and all of that, this is what's going on. And England is playing. And so there is a lot of excitement right now outside my flat, so I've closed all the windows and everything. It's really still really hot, but not as hot as it used to be. But anyway, if you hear anything, this is what's going on. So I wanted to speak a little bit more about how exactly the chakras work and how those imbalances, those blocks in the energy flow through these chakras can take place, how they happen, how they occur, and how they lead to our behaviors and to the challenges that we face in our relationship with food and body. So the function of the chakras, they are the energy centers, right? So they manage energy. They are the places inside our energy body that receive this life force energy, this vital energy that in different traditions it's called prana, chi, ki, whatever we want to call it, but it's this energy that keeps us alive. And it's this energy that we circulate through our systems and we channel into the different activities of our lives and relationships and movements, and everything is based on this energy, right? And so when that energy flows easily and uninhibitedly through the chakras, then we have an overall health. So emotional, physical, mental, spiritual health, if everything flows, naturally and freely. That's more of an ideal state. It's not that we ever, because we are in a dynamic state. Yeah, we interact with our environment all the time. So it's almost impossible. I don't personally know, or I cannot think that anybody would have all their chakras fully open and functioning fully and amazingly all the time. And so let's start with how the blocks get created. So there's two kinds of blocks. They are the long-term blocks, the long-term imbalances that have to do with our history, with our upbringing, with our childhood, whatever comes from that part of our lives. And they're longer and deeper inside our psyche, soul, body systems. And they are the everyday imbalances that happen as a result of our everyday lives and experiences and interactions, that we interact with our environment through this energy system. And so in response to whatever we receive, there can be smaller or larger blocks and imbalances being created every single day. But in this work and how we use, and I use the chakras in my work with food and body image issues, we focus more on the long-term imbalances. And so every chakra, there is a developmental stage in which it kind of develops and it grows and it evolves, and it's like every development from the time that we are born, from 0 age until about adolescence, there are specific periods of time that each of the 7 major chakras is the focus of that period. Yeah, and so I hope that didn't cause any disruption. I don't know what this happens. It happened yesterday as well. I hope you can see me. Let me know if you can. So going back to the developmental stages, there are specific times in our lives since we are born that the focus of every stage is each specific chakra, starting from the bottom, chakra 1, the root chakra, and going up to the crown of our heads, the crown chakra. Depending on what happens during these times, our experiences, whether we receive, because there are big needs that we have, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, the whole spectrum. In each of these stages, there are specific needs that need to get met, that have to get met for us, for that chakra and for everything that has to do with that to be fully developed and to function well. But things happen, and nobody's childhood or upbringing is perfect. And I kind of want to stress that a little bit more, because even if, you haven't had huge trauma in your life or huge abuse, even those things that we perceive as smaller things, common, normal, not a big deal, they still have a big impact on the chakras, and on our development, and the development of our personality and the character, our character structures and strengths and weaknesses and all of that. So depending on what happens in these developmental stages, the flow of energy in each of the respective chakras can be disrupted. And when it is during those formative years, when anything that happens has a much deeper impact, because we're very little and these are our first life experiences, it's like it creates specific energy patterns and tendencies and imbalances and blocks in those specific areas. And as we grow up, this is what kind of makes up our personality, the roles that we take on, our strengths and weaknesses, our likes and dislikes. Even this is what forms both our personality, but at the same time, our body as well, our body type and shape and size, and all of that, interestingly enough, can be linked back or traced back to those very shaping times in our lives, and to those blocks and imbalances in the chakras. And that is another reason why the chakras are so powerful, because they bring together those two areas again. So this is why we focus on those deeper, more lasting influences and imbalances, because these, in response to these, then we develop specific mechanisms, defense mechanisms, coping mechanisms, and some of those can be food and body image related mechanisms that we find, and we bring them up and we develop them in response to these imbalances, in response to what we haven't had enough of in either area or in any area, or what we've had a lot of. And we're going to go into that now. And there are 3 states that one chakra can be in at any given time. It's the balanced state, where there is enough energy flowing through it, and so it can fulfill all its functions, but there is not an overwhelm of energy. So there is just enough energy for it to function optimally. And then there is the excessive state and the deficient state. And so in the excessive state, there is a lot of energy that flows through it, too much for that center to handle. And then the deficient is when there is not enough energy flowing through it, and it cannot really fulfill its functions. Neither of the two is desirable. We want to be in a balanced in between state, right? So opening a chakra, which is a phrase that we use a lot, doesn't mean like bringing in a lot of energy. It means just opening it enough and bringing enough energy so that it can fulfill everything it needs to fulfill. The interesting thing, actually, before I go there, we can have, we have different states. Our chakras are always in different states, and the chakras among them, they kind of try to make up for the imbalances in the other chakras. So if there is an excess in one of the chakras, then another chakra might be deficient in response to that. Or if one chakra is deficient, then another chakra might be too strong or overworking to make up for that deficiency. So it's a very, very intelligent system. Yeah, very intelligent system. I want to give you an example when it comes to food and body, just so I have a better understanding. Yeah. And I'm going to share a resource at the end of this video. I can't go, like, as I said in a post earlier, each chakra is one world in itself. So I can't possibly go into the whole, like all of the chakras and everything that they are about. It's impossible. But I am going to share a resource at the end of the video, which you can, it's very rich, it's very in-depth, and you can go and sign up for free. And this will give you a lot of information, everything you need to know around how the chakras are connected with food and body image issues. Yeah, so you're very welcome. Download that. I want to give a little example of the two common difficulties that we face with food and body. And you will see that they're the two ends of the spectrum. Yeah. So we have the more restrictive types of difficulties when there is chronic dieting, there is a lot of restriction, detoxing, fasting, continuously, excessively. There is a lot of exercise, a lot of control. Hi, Eleni. Yes, a lot of exercise, a lot of control. It's on that side of the spectrum, the more controlling, restrictive types of difficulties. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there is the more excessive, quote unquote, out of control manifestations of these issues, which are binge eating, emotional eating, overeating, all of that. And we can kind of think of bulimic manifestations as somewhere in the middle. Yeah. And so if we look at these two extremes through the lens of the chakras, we will see that in the more restrictive types, there is a very strong third chakra, not very strong, but excessive third chakra. And the third chakra is the fire, is associated with the element of fire, and it has to do with control and willpower and discipline and power in general and strength and all of those things. And so it is almost like an abuse of that energy. There is an excessive third chakra, navel, solar plexus, fire chakra, and that happens at the expense of the second chakra, the sacral chakra, which is the seat of our emotions and our needs and our desires, right? And sensuality and pleasure and all of that. And so usually you see how one makes up for the other. There is an excessive fire and not enough water, not enough feeling. There is a suppression of emotions, of appetite, of hunger, of needs, of all of that. There is a neglect and a denial of all of these. And it's like fire makes up for all of that. And so there is this imbalance here. And see how, knowing what is going on, we know exactly where to go, how to enter the system, and what to work on immediately. Whereas looking through the same lens at the more excessive types, the more impulsive, compulsive types of relationships with food and body, then it is the opposite most commonly. Yeah, there is an excess in the sacral chakra, an excess in that emotional energy and the energy of need, and kind of an addiction, an addictive relationship with pleasure. Even there is a whole other story which I will not go into about whether we actually receive pleasure when we overeat, and we generally don't. But in short, it's this kind of relationship. There is a lot of energy in that sacral chakra, a lot of stimulation in that area, and it's hard to contain it. It's hard to hold it. And so it leads into reaching for different things, substances, food, all of that, to kind of manage it or to suppress it. But still, we're doing that from this perspective. We're trying to find, unconsciously, we're trying to find ways to self-medicate. Yeah, but everything we do is bound to be within the patterns that are already created inside our body, mind, soul, spirit system from childhood. This is why it's so important to go back and to see what has happened there. This is why we need to go deep inside, because if we don't touch these root causes, then, as we were saying in day one, everything will be just a short-lived solution or non-solution. But, yeah. I want to say also that generally, like, the chakras are they are 7. So there is the heart chakra that is right in the middle of the whole chakra system, and 3 chakras below the heart and 3 chakras above the heart. And the 3 chakras that are below the heart are considered the more human chakras. They are more connected with our animal nature, with the more human side of our personality, and of our being. Earth, water, fire. Instincts and urges, our relationship with the earth, our physical survival, our emotions, our sensuality and sexuality, and our ego, our willpower, our, what we identify as people with, our identity, I guess, in the solar plexus. And then the heart is right in the middle. And then above the heart, they are the 3 chakras that are considered the more spiritual one. Yeah, there is our throat chakra, which has to do with communication and expression and sound. And then the lower ones up to the heart chakra, they are also associated with a specific element of nature. As we go further up, it becomes more vague. Yeah, the nature of the higher chakras is more vague. And then there is our intuition, our third eye, our relationship, our connection with spirit, the divine, whatever we want to call it. So the higher chakras are more spiritual, the lower chakras are more human. And we can also see it, we're moving towards stopping using these terms, the masculine, feminine, the way that we have been using them. But simply because the lower chakras are closer to the ground, closer to the earth and to the material realm, they are considered more feminine as well. Because the feminine is very much connected with matter and with the physical body and with the earth. Whereas the higher ones, because they're more spiritual, they're considered more masculine. Yeah, moving towards the heavens, right? And usually, when it comes to food and body image issues and weight issues in women, our struggles, the biggest, the greatest imbalances are in the first 4 chakras. Yeah, it's the more human aspect of our being that we have difficulty with. It is our very human needs, desires, instincts, hunger, appetite, all of that, willpower versus emotions. It's the very, very human aspect that we're struggling with often. So it's like, it's more of a movement downwards, of a dive down, rather than rising up, as I had experienced in my first encounter with the chakras. I was writing about that in my first post today. So let me see. I actually can't see. Anyway, I'll bring in another element and I'll close it. I'll just mention, because I know it can get really long. I want to speak a little bit about what chakra working with the chakras in this context and in my work looks like. And so we're very used to chakra work being purely energy based work, energy work, and more spiritual work, and even though, or healing, and even though that is definitely a part of that, there is also a very strong component that has to do with the psychology of the chakras. So with the psychological aspect, we work with emotions, and we work with thoughts and helpful thoughts, and we work a lot with the body. There is a lot of embodiment work, especially when we do a lot of energy work that is again higher chakras. I feel that we need to ground that work. There is an even greater need to ground that work and to embody whatever we have experienced. And also because I honestly don't believe that if we're facing difficulties with our body image and with our body itself, it's impossible to heal that relationship outside the body. It's impossible to heal this relationship with our physical bodies through either the mind or even through just energy. We really need, there is a whole body of work that has to do with grounding that inside the body, with learning to listen to the body and communicate with the body, with the physical body. So that's big and huge and very, very important. And tomorrow we will be discussing a bit more. I'll be speaking about the probably two, there might be more, but we'll see. The two biggest traps that I've seen spiritual women who struggle with food and weight and body image fall into. And that might be of interest to you, because I know that most of us here are very much interested in spirituality. We have a strong spiritual practice. So I'll speak more about that, about psychology and spirituality, and how important it is to bring and embodiment, how important it is to combine all three when we work on food and body image issues. So I will close here. I want to share with you the resource, which is a 7-day email course that you can sign up on my website, and I'll put the link for that below this video. It's a 7-day email course, and it starts with an introduction to the chakras that we pretty much did today. And then every day you receive you will receive an email, and that will include a 10-page PDF on each of the chakras, starting from the root chakra and going up to the crown. And in it you will find all the details about the chakra. So, the location in the body, the color it is associated with, the aspects of life and experience and personality it's associated with, everything that has to do with that, the food that is associated, because there are specific foods associated with different chakras. But you will also find in great detail the characteristics in relation to food and body image difficulties. You will see what having a balanced chakra looks like, and what excess and deficiency look like, again, specifically to each chakra separately. And you will also find in it the reasons, the root causes of those imbalances in each chakra. And at the end there is a list of healing practices for each one of them. So it's a lot of information, and it was an amazing, I had run it as a challenge in the past, and it was really beautiful as an experience, and you will have links to the videos from that challenge as well. So if you want to explore that further, I warmly invite you to go and sign up for that. And then if you're interested, I really want to bring that in, if you're interested in exploring the connection between the chakras and psychology in general, and our whole upbringing and our whole lives. My personal Bible, it is a Bible, is Anna Dea Judith's Eastern Body, Western Mind. This is an amazing book. Everything that my work is very, very much based on that and informed by that. Anna Dea was my chakra teacher, my chakra psychology teacher, and that makes a big difference. And so I warmly recommend her book. It is amazing. When I read it, I really wanted to translate it to Greek because I was back in Greece, and I really wanted everybody to be able to read it, which I haven't done. But anyway, so I will finish here. I'm sending you lots of love, and I would love to hear your thoughts, anything that's coming up for you, questions, whatever you have for me. I'm here. Lots of love.